Now, for the game itself. What makes it good? Well, to put it simply, it's just fun. But I know that's not enough, don't worry, I have more to say. It does have a very steep learning curve, but once you keep at it, everything starts to click. It's even nicer now, since they have more natural gamepad support, and a control setting designed for a gamepad. This is quite different from the original default setup with mouse and keyboard, so the gamepad's a good way to start, which quickly became my #1 way to play. The reason for this steep learning curve, I think, has to do with how Sonic and other characters handle. Remember, this engine was designed for Doom, and indie games like Doom, as in first-person shooters. What this translates to is a very heavy reliance on camera control, which is something you don't really think about too often in 3D games. Typically, in 3D Sonic games, the camera always follows behind Sonic, but you don't necessarily need to control the camera, because the levels are designed with automatic camera control, so you as the player do not have complete agency over the camera. On a gamepad, it is very apparent you won't get far if you don't have your thumb on that right stick. The default setup for the controls are also in line with this in mind, as you jump using a shoulder button, and you spin dash with another shoulder button. I mean, that sounds kinda crazy to me if you really look at it. Absolutely insane and awful for a 3D momentum-based platformer. I mean, very few platformers can get away with having the jump button be L or R. Even Ape Escape has a hard time justifying it. Yet, despite my initial impressions, and despite me realizing me changing the controls made the game harder to play, I stuck with it. And by changing the controls, I mean making it more conventional, like A is jump and B is spin dash. I really recommend trying out the gamepad if you are nervous or have trouble playing with a keyboard or mouse. This game does a good job of doing it, even if me, I'm not good at keyboard mouse. But you shouldn't worry about it. Jump in on the gamepad, it'll be just like playing any typical Sonic platformer on a console. Give it a go, it's fun. Maybe you'll actually get good enough where you can actually race Metal Sonic in a fierce race to the end and achieve absolute victory. I even managed to complete every character's story mode, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's actually get into the game. So, you start off with Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Those are the 3 starting characters that you begin with the game. And it's pretty good picks. And with that, you also jump into all the many zones. There are 7 zones, each with 3 acts, along with a 3rd boss act. So, yeah. So with that, let's actually get into talking about the zones in this game. The opening level, Green Flower Zone, had evolved quite a bit in order to get to where it is today. It still resembles its early prototype roots, but clearly tweaked and expanded, and you can see it had done a lot to try and teach the player what to expect over the years. But not everything, hence the later tutorial. It's Act 2 of Green Flower Zone that starts to show the more advanced additions to be expected in this game. That's not to say that you'll learn all the skills and tricks you need just from the first zone. Much like many Sonic games, it's the gimmicks and level design of these zones that make them stick out from each other and what makes them memorable. Green Flower is a very straightforward introductory Sonic level, but what about what's after? Well, then you get Techno Hill with its purple jelly water thing that bounces you after sinking in it, and all the cool steamy springs that boost you up in the air. Afterwards, you get Deep Sea Zone, which honestly in my opinion is one of the more visually pleasing zones with its underwater ruins theme it has going on. Which isn't anything crazy to see in Sonic, even the first game had a similar theme. But it's what you expect in a Sonic water level. Bubble spawns here and there for air, added with some puzzle challenges with switches and moving blocks. Whoops, water slide, then water slide, sand slide, water slide, subscribe. You arrive at Castle Eggman, a very large zone focused on navigation and platforming. This zone is brutal the first time you attempt it, as the traps and enemies are very well laid out to challenge you. If you got this far without too many issues, this is when you'll probably start having issues. Next, we have landed on Arid Canyon Zone, one of the more memorable zones in my opinion, simply due to the 2-star gimmicks it has. The minecart and the ropes. The minecart is neat, and is something I honestly never expected to work or see in this engine. They are fun short segments that test your timing and observation skills, making sure to jump on the right track. The ropes, however, would be the one thing I struggle with every time. You jump, and it automatically moves you forward, but the problem with this as opposed to the minecart is that they design it in a way that means you only get one shot at the jump nearly every time, so the timing is hard to judge here. It's always suspended above death pits. At least in the minecart, you don't have to worry about so many variables when jumping. After exploring the desert, we arrive at the Red Volcano. And no, I don't think it's the same one as Sonic Adventure. Though maybe? Regardless, it has these neat ball things you use to ride over lava through the level. Lastly, it's Egg Rock, the zone dedicated to a variety of gimmicks and platforming challenges, testing your timing, your jump aim, and overall momentum management. It is by far the most difficult stage in the game, but it's also the most satisfying challenge to complete. And because of that, it's become my favorite zone to play in this game. How about the boss fights? Yeah, the boss fights. You know, Eggman, he is the main antagonist after all. You will face them after the end of Act 2 of each zone, with the exception of a couple. Fighting Eggman is tricky in this game. If you aren't used to navigating in tight spaces, his fights will definitely test you, requiring good timing and aim with your jumps, along with sometimes using or taking advantage of the arena. However, there are still a couple boss fights that aren't Eggman. Fang the Sniper and Metal Sonic. Fang? Who's Fang, you may ask? He was a boss character who commonly made an appearance on the Sonic Game Gear games. His fight involves him trying to shoot you and toss bombs that blow you out of the arena if you aren't careful. Now, Metal Sonic, this is an epic fight. After cleaning Egg Rock, you'll be challenged to a race against Metal Sonic. And the obstacle course in front of you is a real test of everything you have learned, putting your speed, your precision, and control to the test. And it's a banger! After you win, you're faced with a one-on-one showdown on an elevator with electric fences and nothing but death pits outside them. This is the Metal Sonic fight I have always dreamed of. Hell yeah, man! And what's even cooler is you can unlock both Fang and Metal Sonic as characters to control as, to play through the entire game with. Speaking of that, I probably should get into the characters, shouldn't I? So, you start off with 3 characters, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. And you unlock 3 more. Starting off with Sonic, he is by far the fastest character. And no, I'm not fooling around, like he's super fast. So much so that he's really difficult to control at first. So actually, I don't recommend starting off with Sonic when you first start this game. However, if you do learn to manage Sonic's speed, it becomes quite a fun ride through the game. His unique ability is Thok, which is literally the name. It's named after the sound he made in Sonic Adventure when he did double jump, and in this game it's more of a jump dash. And it helps you greatly in managing distance between platforms. However, if he is too difficult at first, you could tag him with Tails and have that handicap so you can glide over challenges that are far too difficult. And speaking of gliding over, Tails, he has the ability of flight. And he is by far the easiest character to play through the game with, because you could literally just ignore any of the platforming challenges you're having too much difficulty with. So if you're first starting off, I'd recommend Tails. You got that spin dash, and you got that flight. Speaking of which, all the characters that you start off with do have a spin dash. So just putting that out there. Next we have Knuckles. My boy Knuckles. He can glide, he can climb, he can just walk through walls. Literally walk through them, just like he used to. However, just like he used to, there's just one disadvantage. His jump. Low jump. Just like the classic games, Knuckles for some reason just can't jump as high as Sonic and Tails. And it's the same here. He has that really pathetic jump, so climbing and gliding are going to be your main tools to navigate through these stages when you're trying to go, well, up. And we all know why he has a pathetic jump. It's because he has these stupid steel plates attached to the top of his shoes. I mean, look at him. Who does that? Who puts these plates on their shoes? Like, come on, man. Like, you have a clear, you clearly have more weight on you that you're not supposed to have. And you could be amazing if you just take those off. Or you decide, nah, fashion. Anyway, aside from those 3 characters, you also have Metal Sonic and Fang, like I stated before. Metal Sonic is actually faster than Sonic in this game. However, he is even harder to control because of that. But if you do take advantage of his speed, he has this invincibility dash that he'll do, and it can literally tear through spikes. He also has the ability to hover, so that's neat. Then you have Fang the Sniper, who's essentially a boss killer. This guy can target and lock onto any enemy and shoot him straight up. He also has a tail bounce, which is honestly reminds me a lot of Gex. If any of you remember Gex, yeah, Gex, that gecko who says like random snippets and comedy bits. Anyway, Fang has his tail bounce and he has his pop gun. So the final character we have is Amy. That's right, Amy Rose. You can actually unlock her by finishing the Frozen Hillside bonus stage, which is a stage you unlock just by beating the game. Amy is equipped with her Pico Pico hammer and is able to swing it at spikes. So she can destroy spikes that are just in the way for her to find her own paths. Her hammer is also very good at fighting bosses and just overall covering herself. It's a very different playstyle than the rest of the characters, and one that is much slower paced but has options to explore the environment a lot differently. So what about the stages? Like, what about the collectibles? You know, all the collectibles you do in a Sonic game? What are they called again? Oh, that's right. The Chaos Emeralds. And speaking of the Chaos Emeralds, in all the games you always go through a special stage to collect them. The special stages in this game? Straight up knights, dude. Yeah, you know, knights. That weird jester-like creature that you fly around hoops and has like a kid inside him or something. I don't know. The story and lore of knights is very confusing to me. Anyway, whatever the case, you play as Super Sonic in these bonus levels. And in them, you fly through a bunch of rings that collect blue spheres. Once you have enough blue spheres, you actually bank them in and collect the Chaos Emerald. And after that, you head to the exit. It's actually a really fun little special stage that you do. However, they do get increasingly difficult the more than you complete. And by the 7th one, it's quite a challenge. You can also do these special stages in multiplayer mode, whether you're playing split screen or even online. Yes, this game does have split screen and online. And when you're playing multiplayer, the special stages are completely different. You're instead teleported into a giant arena, which just has blue spheres all over the place, and it's up to you and your friends to collect them. So, I guess I should get a little bit into the online play in this game. Since this game is built off of the Doom Legacy engine from many years ago, it still has many of the similar online features. In regards to creating a server, having people join your server, and even running special, like, WODs or even mods just to modify the game for your own liking. And you can have a mega server which can contain up to like 32 people, which I don't know about you, but I don't know if my computer could even do that. Typically I see around like 6 to 8 people or even sometimes 15, but normally it's around that range. But like I said, you can add WADs, W-A-D files, just like Doom into this game, and many people have gone to great strides and achievements just to bring in all these different types of content and characters to the game. You can add other characters like the Werehog, or even this character, Skip, a completely original character based on Hat Kid, another platformer focused on flow and all that. So yeah, this game has become more of a platform, if anything, for many people to create and add their own additions to, and share with everyone online. Lastly, I think you'll find this game to be quite compelling in all of its content. You have the main game, which has all the 7 zones, and you have all the online and additional WAD files that people have made. It's quite an endless surge of things you could do in the game. And it's something that you honestly won't see anywhere else. Oh, and it looks like I am out of time once again. But I covered everything I needed to. Sonic Robo Blast 2 is a game you definitely should play, and hey, it's free, absolutely free. Like, you can literally go down in the description and download it right now and play. And it's available on Windows, Android, I believe Mac, so go for it. Well, even Linux too, I believe. And it has come a long way. 20 years, I mean, that's a long time for a fan game. And because of that work, because of that time, it has become probably the best fan game I have ever played, and one of the best Sonic games I've ever played. Give it a shot. Thanks for watching.